Hello, everybody. Welcome to Homemade. I'm Chef Diana. Happy to be here with you today and our friends and partner, Dole. And we have a special appearance today with dietitian Melanie Marcus with Dole. Welcome, Melanie. Loved working with you. I'm so happy to have the opportunity to be here again with you today.
Hi, everyone. I'm excited to be here today.
And well, you're cooking along with me. Yeah, you do that. I love that. That's so fun. It's not a competition, though, is it?
Ready.
And Chef Amy's in the chat. We'll be moderating today, so if you have questions, comments, stories to share, questions either for Melanie or myself, please put those in the chat. Love working with Dole. 125 years since they started bringing fresh bananas to us. So that's an impressive history. And since then, so many other products available. The list goes on and on and on. And so we're working with, everybody, our staple in our house. We've got Dole bananas and we have the pineapples, but there's so many other options. And so today we're using beautiful, fresh Dole mangoes and plantains, which we'll talk a lot about the ripening process and how to choose them and different ways to use plantains. So often a much more nutritional product than a potato and can often be substituted for a potato, the green plantains. And so both Melanie and I will be talking about that. So we're gonna get started here with this absolutely delicious recipe. And we have fresh mango, and this is a beautiful one for the chutney today. So the mango could be it can be firm. The color doesn't make a huge difference. I always like to look for a little bit of this rosy red color on it. And then you just want to give it a little squeeze, just a little loving squeeze. And a little bit of give is nice for this recipe. If I was putting this on a fruit platter, I'd probably want a little more give. Don't press it too hard, too firmly and bruise it. But for the chutney, it doesn't really matter. So chutney is originated in India. It's a combination of fruit and or vegetables, spices, some sort of acidic ingredient, typically vinegar, and most often cooked. There are some fresh chutneys that are really delicious that have this same type of flavor profile. So the one we're making today is pretty traditional in that we are cooking it and we are using mango, which is traditional, and some really wonderful combination of spices. Okay, so when you measure out your spices, before you put that spice jar away, after you measure out the spices for the mango chutney, measure out the spices for the filling. That's gonna save some time. And then we're also using fresh garlic and fresh ginger for the chutney and for the filling. So why not grate them or chop them or however you're getting your prepared product. Why don't you do them at the same time? Save yourself a little bit of time, okay? So I did go ahead and cut up some beautiful fresh mango ahead of time for the chutney because it's a little time consuming, but I do want to show you how to cut a mango. There's numerous ways. If you Google search this, you would find numerous ways to do this, okay? So it's washed, and I'm gonna take a flexible boning knife. I use a boning knife often for fruits. So I'm gonna go ahead and find something a little bit stable. And with my knife, I should be able to kind of feel that pit. And then I'm gonna take my knife because it has some flexibility, and I'm actually gonna bend it around the pit and then down the other side. And if I bring a little bit of that pit with me, that's okay. You wanna come as close to the pit as possible. I don't know if this is visible on camera. There's a little line here. That's the beginning of the pit. And I'm gonna find that stability again. And if this feels wobbly and unsafe to you, just trim a little bit off the bottom to create a little bit of a flat surface. Safety first in the kitchen. This is a beautiful, beautiful mango. And there we are. And then we have all this lovely little meat left. We've got beautiful pieces here to work with. So the way I take the rest of the peel off, a vegetable peeler, the skin is a little tough. I do not have great success with a vegetable peeler. You might, but I cut them into more manageable sized pieces. And then I come down and I'm gonna take the skin off, again, flexible knife, and I'm gonna start here, and my knife is literally flat on the board. Okay, it's not at any angle at all, because I'll cut through the skin that way. My knife is flat on the board, and I'm making sure I don't have any hands or arms or limbs or anything over here, right? and I'm gonna cut away, or my body, so I'm turning away from it. And I can always come back up and pick up the rest of the skin. And so everything's gonna go in there. I have a small saucepan. We don't want a lot of surface area with the chutney. So we're gonna have some sugar and the mango, which has some sugar in it as well. And sugars wanna stick to the bottom of the pan. We're not adding any oil to this, so we need to be really careful and not have a large surface area. We'll lose too much moisture with large surface area, and it will burn very quickly. So we definitely want a pan that has a small surface area. So we have garlic and ginger that are going in both the filling and the chutney. So I'm going to prepare them at the same time. So I'm gonna use this bigger microplaner, small grater. For the chutney, we've got 1 large garlic clove. So I'm gonna do the garlic first for both dishes because the ginger has quite a bit of fibrous texture to it. So it's gonna be easier to do the garlic and then the ginger, because the ginger might kind of clog up your microplane. Okay, so there's the garlic for both dishes. So 2/3 of that is gonna be saved for my filling, and 1/3 is gonna go into the chutney, which we're gonna get started here pretty quick. And then ginger's been washed, but we're making a chutney and a filling today that has a lot of spices and dark hues to it. So there's no need to peel the ginger, I don't think. So as long as it's washed and clean, the dish is dark, and I'm not gonna peel it because I'm thinking it also has gotta have some nutritional value.
Yeah, I think it adds a little fiber, maybe.
Fiber. Okay, so there's our ginger, and again, we're gonna save some of that for the filling. And then I think we have everything ready to go for the chutney. So really simple. Let's put in the mango. The white vinegar, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, 1/3 of a cup of sugar. So the spices we're using today, we have coriander, cumin, turmeric, cardamom, and some red chili flakes. And you can definitely modify the red chili flake amount if you want, if you're not a heavy spice person. So, and a little bit of salt, pinch of salt. So all that's gonna go in there and cook with it. So simple, all those ingredients just go in there all together, and then we're gonna simmer for about 30 minutes, making sure that we stir periodically and nothing is sticking to the bottom.
Chef, in addition to what we're making today, what else do you think might go well with this mango chutney?
Well, first of all, it lasts a long time. Okay, it doesn't have anything super perishable in it, so it'll last a long time, just in the refrigerator. I mean, it would last up to a month, at least, in the refrigerator, if it's stored in an airtight container. And I had some left over when I tested this recipe. I had a little bit left over, and I mixed it with some mayonnaise, and I put it on a turkey sandwich, and it was yummy. It was so good. Okay, so the filling, now we want a lot of surface area. Okay, so a lot of common sense in the kitchen. So we'll get this pan cooking here a little bit, get a little hotter. Our filling ingredients are, here's the ginger and the garlic that was supposed to go in there. Better late than never.
They're still in the party, it's fine.
So our filling ingredients, we have a little bit of, we're using vegetable oil, and then an onion, just a standard onion. So dice on an onion, we're gonna go pretty small on here. Onion, I'm gonna come across very carefully with my knife, fingers out of the way, and then I'm not cutting all the way through to the other side, and then we're gonna come down with our knife like this.
Chef,
the filling ingredients we want to be a little bit smaller than the chutney. The chutney's gonna cook down. Now the recipe calls for 1 small onion, and I had 1 large onion, so I just cut it in half. So I'm only using half. So we're gonna get the onion started. So we're gonna put in the 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil into the pan. Pan is hot.
Chef, there's a question about what kind of vegetable oil you're using.
We're just using a standard vegetable oil. It was called vegetable oil. So options, and Melanie, maybe you can weigh in here on the oils. So there's safflower oil, there's canola oil, there's vegetable oil. lots of other options. Do you have a recommendation for a vegetable-based oil?
Avocado oil. If something, calls for a vegetable oil, like you said, many of us just have vegetable oil or canola oil. So you can be flexible. None of them really have a really strong flavor, and we're just going with a neutral oil.
So the carrot and the plantain, which we'll talk about in a minute, I'm going to use the box grater for. So I'm going to chop a couple of things here.
Chef, in addition, there was a question that someone mentioned graters kind of intimidate them about getting their thumbs or their fingertips or anything. Any tips for using a grater to keep their hands safe?
You can buy a glove, and a good cooking store will sell them. And it's this fabric glove that you can throw in the washing machine, and you can't, some people use them for chopping just because it makes them feel safer. So it's a glove that is pretty, I've never seen anybody cut through one, put it that way, and I've seen some close calls. So you can actually buy those. Jalapenos, be careful with the jalapenos. Okay, our recipe calls for 2. This one is huge, and so I'm gonna just use 1. And just my word of caution with working with jalapenos is just make sure you really wash your hands really well afterwards, more than once, because we sometimes don't even think about how we touch our eyes sometimes, rub our eye. And so the jalapeno oils they'll really burn. And sometimes people wear gloves, latex gloves, for working with hot chilies. And if you're gonna do a whole big batch of hot chilies, I would recommend that. So we're gonna do a small dice on the jalapeno. So plantains for me often don't peel just like a banana. You can try, but it's difficult. So I usually, again, wash them, take a small paring knife. So if you take a knife and very carefully cut just through the peel, and I'm only gonna use half, so I'm only gonna cut halfway down. Let's go my knife away from me, and then let's see what happens. And see how nice that peels back just with those little slits in there. And I'm gonna grate it really fast. I like the plantain grated when I use my box grater. It kind of almost like melted into the dish. It's got such this creamy, wonderful, delicious flesh that it kind of melted right in there. So I'm gonna use the box grater for that, and then we're gonna end up getting those things all incorporated into that filling. And the chutney's looking just beautiful. I did about a 1/2-inch dice on the chutney, and you can see when you look down into the pan that it's not breaking up yet. It probably will as it continues to cook. It is starting to break down a little bit, but it's keeping a nice shape to it. And you might like that. You might like yours a little chunkier. So again, options for that.
There is some discussion for folks who haven't used plantains. Someone asked if bananas would work. What do we think about that?
I would say they'd have to be green bananas because they do have more starch versus sugar. That might be it. Or, traditionally this dish is something made with potato, right? So that's kind of the substitute we're making here.
Okay, so we're gonna get the rest of this filling ingredients in here so it can get cooking. And then we still have a whole little fun Phyllo assembly thing to do and talk about. So we have all of our vegetables in there. That last little bit was the 1 cup of cauliflower that I just diced up small. And then the garlic and the ginger that we did ahead of time, the extra that we had from the chutney. And then again, same spices as we used before, but this time we're adding a little bit of chili powder into the filling, which is fabulous. Chili powder's not hot. It has a little sweetness. It's an assortment of chilies, and it just has a little sweetness to it. Saute all that, and then we're gonna add about 1.5 cups of water. And you could certainly use a vegetable stock, pinch of salt and pepper instead of the water if you wanted to. And then we're just gonna let that simmer until it's basically kind of dry, okay? So are we ready to move into the Phyllo assembly?
I'm ready.
Okay, so damp paper towel, damp kitchen towel on top of Phyllo. I love working with Phyllo dough. It's so fun. Make sure that you're buying it look at the packaging, check the sell-by date, make sure it doesn't look like it's been transported roughly, the box is in good shape. It's a very delicate dough because it does dry out. So you never want to open the package. It comes in different sizes too, by the way. We've had 2 different sizes here. I wanted to show you that. You could use either one of these. The recipe calls for this 11-inch, but you could use either one. Don't worry about that. And then have either paper towels, damp, or a kitchen towel, just really, really slightly damp, ready to go before you open up the package. When you open up the package, you should be able to pull this out. It should be pliable. And then unroll it, and hopefully you'll be able to carefully unroll it. It has to be completely thawed at this point. Don't try and do this when it's frozen. And you should be able to unroll it and not see it crack. Dry hands, dry, clean hands, really delicately. Open it up, and this is a pretty nice product we have, okay? I do see a few little cracks there, that's okay. So we're gonna start with 2 pieces. And again, it's so thin. So 2 pieces. And so you'll take those 2 sheets onto your cutting board or counter, clean counter, because it's big. If you don't have a big cutting board and you're fine working on your counter. And then again, we need to work quickly so this doesn't dry out and start cracking. So I'm gonna take a paring knife and I'm gonna try my best to do, you could use a ruler. If you want these to be perfect, use a ruler and cut it in thirds. And then we're gonna cut all the way down, straight as we can. And again, you can use some kind of a stencil tool if you want, but they come out beautiful at the end anyway. Don't worry about it too much. And then filling, I have some made because this needs to cook a little bit longer. Things will start to break down and it'll cook a little bit longer, but I have some that I made yesterday. So I'm gonna take it and I wanna show you a little trick with how to place this. We're gonna place about 2 tablespoons down here in one corner, the bottom corner. So I take 2 teaspoons and make a little, there's a technical term for this, a culinary term, we call it a quenelle. It's called a quenelle. It's just a little, kind of like a football shape. And I'm gonna place that right there. And then I'm gonna start to fold this over. So we take this edge and we come up here. Oh wait, you know what I didn't do? Sorry. Olive oil. We are using olive oil here. And this is gonna add flavor between the layers. So just brush on a little olive oil. So fold that way, and then we fold it up like this. And then we go this way. There's a theme here. Isn't that fun? I'm not a pastry chef. I like things to move a little quicker. I sometimes don't have a lot of patience. If they're kept really nice in your freezer, they'll last for quite some time. And so fun to just be able to do all of the work ahead of time, but not even that difficult, really. And then just pull that out, again, to take to a party. Yes, Chef Amy.
That was actually a question from someone about making them ahead and freezing them. Would you freeze them before you bake them, or would you bake them and then freeze them?
Great question. I would completely bake them after. Yeah. Thanks for asking for clarification. Absolutely, for sure. And so that's what we did today, is we prepared and froze them, and then I baked them. I brought them, from the freezer to room temperature for maybe 30 minutes, and then popped them into the hot oven. And then onto a cookie sheet they go. Parchment paper is nice for these, but if you don't have it, it's not that big of a deal. The bottom is gonna get also nice and crispy.
I have a question, Chef. About,
Yes.
When you made these, how many do you think you would get? How many?
That's a great question. I think I got out of this batch, I think I got 16.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah, I should have, I think I did count, but it was a few days ago. Yeah, and I divided them up because I took them to 2 different parties, and then I have some for today. I have 5 for today, so I must have gotten at least 16, which is really nice because this filling really goes a long ways, doesn't it? That's great. I'm gonna pop these into the oven, and then we're gonna finish our chutney by just giving it a little whir in the food processor. You could It's still pretty chunky. You could definitely just mash it with a whisk or a potato masher. Or we can give it a little spin, depending on the consistency. I'm not opposed to this consistency for certain things, but the mango still, that beautiful mango kept its shape and its size pretty well. And I think as a dipping sauce for this dish, the Phyllo Bites, I think it's a little bit big. So we don't want it completely smooth, but if we just pulse it just a little bit, to just break it down just a tad. I think that's just beautiful. It's so pretty. It's so vibrant and pretty.
Thank you.
It's so satisfying. They're so satisfying. How do I know? Because I've been eating them the past few days and been enjoying them very much. So the Phyllo can be a little messy. It's flaky. It's delicious because it's really crumbly and really flaky. So for me, it's not like a napkin food if it's at my house. So I just love the combination. And they're so filling and so satisfying. And I knew they were healthy before class today with you, Melanie, but I didn't really know that they were that healthy. Thank you for making me feel even better about eating them. Probably get a sound here, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. I could hear that over here.
Okay. Oh, it's that homemade. No, I'm kidding. I have to clean up. Oh my gosh, so good. The sweet spice, but not hot spice. Even with the amount of flakes that I put in there, it's not spicy hot. So good. I love this dish so much. I hope you do too. I don't know if you want to add anything, Melanie, before we finish.
I think I'll just say, if anyone has questions about diabetes or certain conditions or benefits of fruits and vegetables, visit dole.com, check out our recipe center and our blog. I manage the blog, and there are tons of articles that take kind of a deeper dive into the benefits and the research.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, you guys have great resources, and everybody should definitely check them out. Thanks. It was so much fun working with you again. I love partnering with Dole Fresh Fruit. And remember that all classes are also available on demand, so please share. And then you can also always find us online at Homemade is Live. It's my pleasure, Chef Diana here at Homemade, working with you today and with our partner and friend at Dole. So thanks so much for joining us. Cook for life. Bye.